Welcome back. I'm Michael Bull, and this is America's Commercial Real Estate Show. Today we're talking about technology, and I'd like to thank GetValuate.com for sponsoring this segment. You want to check them out. You can do online analysis of either simple or complex real estate deals and share it with colleagues online. It's GetValuate.com. Well, today we're talking about technology. Please welcome my next guest, is Steve Barnes. He's president of Barnes Creative Studios, and he's here in Studio One. Steve, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And Steve, I think there's a lot of confusion out there about technology in the commercial real estate space when it comes to video, when it comes to drones, when it comes to virtual reality. I mean, this seems like it's evolving, it's changing. So let's talk about it a little bit, some of the things that you guys do. First, tell us about Matterport and what can be done there.
Matterport's a pretty amazing tool. I mean, Matterport is, everyone has heard of it by now. I think they're about a little over 3 years in. The difference is it's data and not a photograph. So that's one of the reasons I think Google just eliminated their business view, because it was fisheye images. You have a dead end. You can't do anything else with it. You have a picture and you're done. With Matterport, it's data. So when you go into a space, whatever that is, whether it's one boardroom or one complete lobby of a high-rise, you're able to capture all that data and do a ton of stuff with it later, whether that's making fly-through videos or putting a walkthrough up on someone's website for a space. Like if you're leasing a space, somebody can walk through and look at everything.
And tell us about some of the creative things you've seen done with Matterport.
Sure, Matterport, the ability to make the fly-through videos is pretty impressive. And that's usually what's funny is that's the wow factor when people see it after. And it's really just a byproduct of the Matterport virtual tour. But for commercial real estate, I have a lot of leasing outlets who will take the entire space and create a walkthrough of it. But you can also create these fly-through videos with little pop-ups or talking about what could be here, what could be there, or even build animations inside after the fact. So go in and add people, add furniture, add stuff. That's not part of Matterport, but that's stuff you can do after the fact.
Right, and you can buy these Matterport cameras, right? But what about the production? What about the producer behind it?
I think it's a big difference. Yeah. We take all that very seriously. A lot of people have just bought a camera, and that's great to get in, but you really need to be with that camera a long time to understand all the things that it can do and kind of the pitfalls of the camera. So I would just say if you're going to hire a Matterport producer, to investigate what brands are they working with, who have they worked with in the past, and absolutely ask to see examples.
And then what can they do? What's their ability to do in post, right?
The magic that they advertise is anyone can push the button, right? Which is an iPad that's connected to it and it captures data. That's accurate. After the fact, there's stitching that goes on. There's a bunch of manipulation that goes on with the actual user experience that I think that's where the experience comes in. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't suggest buying a camera unless you had somebody on your team that had a post-production background.
Right.
It would make it painful if you didn't.
Right, that makes sense. So give us an idea of what the time it would take to do a Matterport production, cost, and what you might get out of that as a final product.
It's all about the data size and the space. So really up to about 5,000 square feet, that would take probably 2 or 2.5 hours to capture all the data, and probably another 3 to 4 hours doing all the magic afterwards. And that magic could be making a fly-through video. It could be making the actual tour where you want people to go. So if I captured this entire desk and I only wanted people to go in one area, I could turn off all the other rooms and maybe turn them on later. You can get 4K imagery from it. So from any space, imagine if you captured a huge office and you wanted to get photos 2 months later from an angle looking out a window. You can go back to that data and grab it. You don't have to send a photographer back out. So you basically are encapsulating your entire building in your pocket, or your space.
All right, so I just put a building on the market. It's 50,000 square feet. It's gorgeous, and it's 2 stories. It's in the Atlanta market here. It'd be a great corporate headquarters for a company. So if I want a Matterport tour that kind of showed the building, kind of going in the lobby, it's got a gorgeous lobby, and then showed some of the spaces and views. Matterport a good for that. And what price ranges might I look at investing in that?
I think Matterport's a good thing for it, but not Totally. I think the way you describe the project, which is a lot of my clients refer projects just like that, is you have to capture the context of the area first. You might go with a drone for that. You might go with 360 video, because there's something about hearing and seeing the sights and sounds of the area versus Matterport, which is really good for interiors. Matterport's not really an outside camera. So you would use Matterport interior-wise, but then you would get into 360 video for maybe the lobby, something with energy in it that you want to capture, because 360 video is capturing live sounds along with just animated moving objects, whatever, cars, whatever. Yeah. So if you want to show that energy, 360 video is a way to do it. The way to look at each package, whether that's a Matterport tour or a minute of the 360 video, which is quite heavy in the production side, about $1,500 a minute for the 360 video, and that's fully produced. It's not a consumer camera. This is a very high-end professional camera that looks pretty off the charts amazing, and the user can manipulate it, grab the screen, and look around the area. Matterport, you're looking at about $1,500 also, but that's for a space up to about 5,000 square feet.
Per minute of product?
No, that's just the entire finished product.
Okay.
That's the confusing part. 360 video, a minute is a lot going into that minute. That's $1,500. And the Matterport, an entire space up to 5,000 square feet, which could be a whole office space possibly. And then you get into, if you have a massive space, you wouldn't really capture every single inch of it, because a lot of it might be hallways or big open areas. You could capture certain spaces. So if you went in with Matterport, captured your 5 key spaces, you could jump between those Matterport spaces. Okay. If that makes sense.
And if you're listening to this show, you're driving around, you want to see some of this, visit the show website, CREshow.com, and hit the button watch. And you can see some of this in action. And let's go to drones. You mentioned drones. A lot of people have seen the drone technology kind of improve. I think some of the dramatically, and the laws kind of relaxed. What are some tips for us regarding drone footage?
Again, it's an industry where a bunch of people got into it overnight. So do your homework on who you're hiring. The key things to make sure they have their FAA approval and requirement. That is a big one. And make sure they have insurance.
Because they're professional, right? And you're hiring them, they need it?
On the drone side.
Okay.
So those, just to operate the drone. Then you get into post-production, which drone video is not really the same process as just standard video, if you want to call it that. It really is a very different beast, from stabilization to some of the color corrections and things you need to do, and replacements inside the video can be very different and a little more advanced. I think also that you need someone that can tell a story, and that's what we pride ourselves on. Is I've been working with big brands for a long time and understand what they need. Be sure that who you hire has that experience, or at least some, with major brands, because as you know, the major brands just have marketers at a higher level. They have a lot of requirements at a higher level, so you kind of get a better product.
Right, yeah. If you're putting a 50,000 square foot beautiful building on the market, you don't want a crappy little drone footage of
and
it.
What happens is a lot of people who just didn't know better have hired these people and show up with horrible video. I've had double-digit times where clients have had to scrap entire chunks of video that they had. Someone's grandson had a drone, and they sent him out to this big high-rise, and they got back what they got back.
Right.
But like working with like Jones Lang LaSalle and CBRE, they really understand the value of that asset can live on. So not only is it marketing their $600 million building, it can become a marketing video for just a little bit more when they sell the asset, and it's kind of a nice piece to add in.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It could be the other way around, where we're selling a building, right, and we want some footage and 360, or we want drone, but then after we sell that building, the buyer needs to lease it. They need to manage it.
Right.
So that can live on and be adjusted somewhat.
You could fragment the pieces and create. You could create a Matterport tour, strip it of all the materials that you've put on the inside, like links and stuff, and completely turn it into a marketing asset.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how much video has been used recently, and it's kind of really changed because now everyone has fast internet, right? We all can watch videos, and we all want to. I've talked to a lot of people who watch and listen to the show, and there's a large number of people that say, well, I watch it. I've never heard it. I've always watched it. And I think more and more that people are really used to that. We all have that power.
You couldn't have done this show 5 years ago because the internet, people struggled. Everyone expects a television experience. It wasn't always that. Now we have gigabit like it's nothing.
Yeah, that's right. Talk to us about panorama and drones.
Drone panoramas are a pretty impressive tool to sell context. We do a lot with our hospitality clients where we can go in and capture from a drone one big, call it a map, but a real life map of that area. So we're basically capturing every single thing, obviously on a beautiful day, so it looks gorgeous and inviting, your tourism day. And then that becomes kind of the base for putting in a lot of these items we talked about, Matterport virtual tours, 360 video. So whether it's you want to feel what it's like to stand right at the pool and you go into a 360 video, or you want to walk around the presidential suite, it really opens up for a buyer amazing context that people are craving. You talk about the online experience. Now everyone expects their own little personal TV show. This is like an interactive TV show. It's almost like you're watching a travel channel or a commercial real estate channel show because you can steer the content. And that's just very recent that you've been able to really get in and get that deep and granular with a product, whether you're selling it, renting it, or trying to get people to come visit it.
Yeah, and I think it's an absolute no-brainer when you have a product that has some shelf life. If you're leasing hotel rooms, I'm renting hotel rooms, or you're leasing office space, what a great tool, because you're going to use this for a very long time, as opposed to when I sell this building, I hope to sell this building in 4 or 5 weeks.
Right.
So
well, think about from a commercial real estate perspective,
and
I've had clients like this where you come in, you capture this drone panorama of your, maybe it's a boring rural just office park, right? Well, you can turn that boring office park into a really cool presentation and woo a big client. One big client's going to make a big difference in your, on the bottom line. You take this drone panorama, and then eventually you're going to have your spaces maybe available where you keep capturing. You can add to it. So you've got this space, and now you're leasing it. But think about building the context outward. So you go into an area, and we just did one recently that was a very vanilla building, but they had a killer trail, like a walking trail nearby. You build that context in. So someone's pulling up the map, and then you have a little side video you've embedded inside the panorama that shows this trail and shows people jogging, maybe a 10-second drone video that shows just what, looking down on this greenway. Things like that you can build in if your asset isn't sexy, and that's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, whether they're in a weird part of town way out, or maybe your building isn't aesthetically a gorgeous building, well, you can still sell it because you can take everything around that neighborhood, the best restaurant in town, easy access to whatever highway. There's a lot of things you can do.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because you look at the old adage of location, location, location. So it is about what's around you.
And everything's different.
Yeah.
Every project is 100% different.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Steve, I want to ask you about the top 3 tips for video marketing and the top 3 mistakes to avoid. So stay with us. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show.